It is happy and ready to bake something with. So I'm going to do several things today because I have so much. And the first is going to be a date nut bread that I'm going to adapt from a couple of recipes. Today for Friendship Friday for May, I am making date walnut bread using my Friendship starter. I have had date breads before and I really love them. I just love dates and I got a really good price on them, and I've had them in my pantry and I want to use them before they, dry up, because they are pitted dates and they dry up faster than the unpitted. You can't always soak them in warm water though if they start to dry out. So the first step is to chop up 1 cup of dates, sticky dates. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just chopping them up. I want it to be a nicely packed cup of dates because I like a lot of dates in my bread. I think it really adds a nice texture and also a burst of flavor. So I got a few more out to chop just to make sure there'll be enough of date flavor in the cake. Well, bread actually. Now I'm going to chop up a 1/2 cup of walnuts. You could use pecans or any other nut that you like, or if you don't like nuts or have an allergy, leave them out. I like the crunch that nuts give in a quick bread. So here I am just chopping up the walnuts, and I have a 1/2 cup measure that I will put them in. And then we can get ready to start mixing everything together. Our prep work will be done. Next, we can start to mix up the batter, and then it goes into the pans. It's a fast process. We start off with 1 cup of the starter, and make sure you get a nice full cup because we really want that flavor in this batter. It just adds an extra special something that is hard to describe. And make sure you scrape it all out because it will cling to the inside of the measuring cup. And make sure you're using a plastic or glass measuring cup as you dip into your starter, because you don't want any metal. Next, we're going to put 3 eggs in. And I had just went out to my coop and picked out 3 eggs. It's nice to have the young chicks that are, or the young hens, I should say, that are giving us lots of eggs. I probably should have put them into a separate little bowl first, but I forget to do that sometimes. Next is 1 cup of oil. I'm just using vegetable oil. You can use any oil that you choose. And then we need a 1/2 cup of milk. I had a 1/4 cup measuring cup, so I had to put 2 in. Next is 1 cup of sugar. And I need to fill my canister. This time of year when I'm baking for spring and with the starter, I go through a lot of sugar. Now I'm going to use my Danish whisk to mix everything up. You can use a regular whisk or a spatula, whichever you like to use to mix up your quick breads. Next is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. It gives it a nice, warm, very depth of flavor. I just love the flavor of the cinnamon with everything. Now we're going to mix it all up and then add the rest of the dry ingredients. First, we're going to add 2 cups of flour. After we add the flour, we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And then the last dry ingredient will be 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And make sure you have your oven preheated at this point to 325. Then we are going to mix all those dry ingredients. Combine everything until it's a nice and evenly blended batter. There will be a few lumps, and that is perfectly normal. You don't want to mix it too much. At this point, it should be a nice, warm, brownish color and just smell amazing. So the last thing we have to do now is add the dates, which are kind of clumping together, but they will separate in the batter. So get those all in the bowl, and then also your walnuts. And then combine them into the batter evenly, and we will be ready to put it in the pans and bake it. You need to prep your pans by putting butter, spraying oil, whatever your preferred way of prepping your pans so that the bread doesn't stick. I like to use butter, and I always save my wrappers too and put them in the freezer. And now we're going to put half the batter in each pan. And if you find your batter was too thin, you can add up to 1/3 cup of flour to make it this consistency. Spread the batter between the two pans and make it even. And I could have sprinkled some cinnamon sugar in the pans before I added the batter, but I didn't want that crusty crust, which is wonderful on the outside this time. The bread will bake for 55 minutes, and here it is. And it was so, so good. And we froze one of the breads to have later on. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next month on the first Friday for Friendship Friday. See you next time at Pike Creek Farm.